I can't think of any part of my life which hasn't been made harder by my ME/CFS. What it's like to exist in a body and mind not ravaged by illness is a long forgotten memory. And for the worst off, the conversation may stop here. There might be no silver linings for someone experiencing homelessness or abuse or facing a horrible death. For those of us with sufficient privilege, though, is there anything to feel good about? To explore this question, I'm going to rank the potential silver linings listed at the bottom and explain my choices. My final ordering is no more valid than anyone else's, and I'd be interested to hear where ours differ in the comments. So let's start with loss of identity. Obviously, this is very challenging, I imagine, for everyone. However, I feel that I gained a couple very important things from this. One is that I learned who I was beyond what I did. And two is that it revealed to me that a lot of what I was doing was for the approval of others. Obviously, it necessarily involves a long and painful adjustment period, and I don't want to discount that. But the further removed I am from the pain of that, the more I appreciate the upsides. And for those reasons, I'm going to rank loss of identity in the more good than bad tier. Next, let's do becoming a disease expert. I'll be honest, I don't have much positive to say about this one. I feel like we only do it out of necessity because we learn through the experience of being harmed that doctors are not safe. And I would much rather be able to defer to medical experts. I'm not particularly interested in ME/CFS beyond the fact that I have it and it controls my life. I guess there is something to be said about being very informed about one's illness, but I would prefer to live in a world where I could count on doctors to know what's best for me. And so I'm going to rank this one in the you can keep it tier. Next up, let's do unlearning prejudices. This is one of the consequences of becoming chronically ill that I value the most highly. For one, I developed empathy for the chronically ill and disabled. I learned to recognize ableism in myself and in society, and it allowed me to see myself in people affected by other forms of oppression. I would be a worse person today if not for these things. And for that, I am genuinely appreciative. Alright, next we'll do time to introspect. This is a real case, in my opinion, of diminishing returns. Too much of this is really punishment. However, it helped me gain self-knowledge and develop better coping skills. And it taught me to be more deliberate about my life choices. It enabled me to start moving through the world with more intentionality. And that's why I'm going to put this in the more good than bad tier. I'm ranking this below loss of identity because it really feels like I got everything out of this many, many years ago. Next up, we'll do tolerance for discomfort. I'm not a fan of this one. It's only something we gain through pointless suffering. And I feel like this is not really a skill we'd need in a better world. Also, unlike endurance athletes, we did not sign up for this. We did not consent to this. This one's pretty horrible, and I'm going to put it in the fuck off tier. So next up, we're going to do appreciate small pleasures. You know, to the person lost in the desert, dying of thirst, who stumbles on an oasis, I'm sure the water tastes amazing. That doesn't make that situation any more desirable. I will say, in my experience, having this skill does help my mental health. And in general, I think finding joy in small things is a useful skill in an unjust world. I'm going to place this in the you can keep it tier. And I think I'd rank it above becoming a disease expert. It's a more generally useful life skill. Alright, next up, let's do scientific skepticism. If you know me, you can probably guess which tier I'm going to rank this in. As a practice, scientific skepticism helps us avoid the many traps laid by peddlers of false hope. It can also help us steer fellow community members away from harm. Science is so deeply interwoven with our lives now, beyond chronic illness, and being able to see through pop science hype or pseudoscience is quite a useful skill, in my opinion. I don't see any downside to this one. Perhaps it makes it harder to have hope in ongoing research and existing treatments, but I'll take the truth any day. This is something I'm genuinely appreciative for. Alright, next up, alone time. I feel like this only exists as a silver lining in the minds of people who have no idea what they're talking about. I had my fill of alone time after about 1 week of being ill. Too much of this is really poisonous to your mental health. Solitary confinement is considered to be torture for a reason. Spending time with my online friends makes life much more tolerable. If someone suggests to me that this is a thing I should be happy about, internally I'll be thinking, fuck off. Next up, online MECFS community. First of all, the information and social support is life-saving. And it may not be easy to find, but there's a niche with your people somewhere. Having said that, I do feel there are some negatives. To me, there aren't enough people connecting the dots between our struggle and other struggles. It can be frustrating to see people's politics not evolve. For them to decry a hierarchy which affects them, but not question society's many other hierarchies. Lastly, and this is a big point of contention for me, there's a depressing tolerance of pseudoscience. Even within my own niche community, this can make me feel alone sometimes. However frustrated it may make me, I think there's no doubt that there's more good than bad. And I think it belongs right here. Alright, let's do mental resiliency. Like tolerance for discomfort, this one is gained through a lot of unnecessary suffering. I can't recommend it. In fact, traumatic experiences related to my MECFS have made me less resilient and not more. The person telling you that you're so strong may have great intentions, but it translates essentially to congrats on not killing yourself. I rank mental resiliency in the you can keep it tier and near the bottom of it. Alright, we're nearing the end here. Let's do better personal politics. Before I became sick, I was privileged in about every imaginable way. I really had no awareness of what marginalization was like, and my worldview suffered for it. Experiencing marginalization for the first time really set me down a much better path, and it got me practicing peer support and mutual aid. This is another one that I'm genuinely appreciative of. I would rank it here. Next is time off work or school. Straight to jail. Where to begin? First of all, it's not time off work or school, it's the end of work or school. Obviously, rent and bills aren't taking time off, and being very sick in perpetuity is not restorative. I feel like I've only scratched the surface here with how ignorant this one is. It goes at the bottom of the fuck off tier. Let's do reassessing what's important. I feel fairly positive about this one. Becoming ill impressed on me that life is finite and good health is a privilege. I think I make deeper friendships now based on shared values and mutual care. And I've grown much more comfortable being different. I think this belongs in the more good than bad tier. Right here. Last but not least is rest. Once again, being very sick in perpetuity is not restorative. I've come to feel that rest is one of the least interesting parts of life. To be deprived the choice of whether or not to exert your mind or body is a terrible curse. We're not resting temporarily to return to a full life. We're resting to not get more severely ill. This definitely belongs in the fuck off tier to me, and the question is just where. I think I would rank it above alone time, but below tolerance for discomfort. And with that, we're done. Let me know how you'd rank things differently, or whether there's any potential silver linings that I forgot to mention. Wishing you a relatively peaceful and comfortable day.